What is school really for? A simple question that sounds obvious until you actually sit with it. Ask a politician, a parent, a teacher, and you'll hear the same answers on repeat. Education, opportunity, preparing kids for the future. We've all heard it so many times it feels true by default. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the most important job school does have almost nothing to do with education? For millions of families, the most valuable thing school provides isn't calculus or chemistry. It's being open from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. For tens of millions of kids, the most important subject isn't math or English. It's lunch. That sounds dramatic, but it explains why the system feels so broken and so impossible to change. We say school is for education, but its two most critical functions are childcare and food security. Until we admit that, we're not being honest. Let's start with childcare. The modern school system is, by far, the largest childcare provider in the country. That familiar schedule isn't random. 8 to 3, 5 days a week, most of the year. We like to say it comes from farming, but the schedule really solidified when cities industrialized and work became standardized. Over time, school became the thing that made the modern workday possible. Today, childcare is an economic crisis. It's expensive, hard to find, and often determines whether parents can even work. But once a child turns 5, there's a solution everyone quietly relies on. Public school, a supervised, state-funded place for kids to be during working hours. It's the silent subsidy holding the economy together. Once you see that, a lot of things make sense. Like school start times. We've known for decades that teenagers are wired to wake up later. Early start times are linked to worse grades, worse mental health, and more accidents. The science isn't controversial. Starting later works. So why don't we do it? Because changing start times breaks the childcare system. Bus schedules collapse, drop-off windows disappear, after-school programs fall apart, parents can't get to work. The educational benefits lose to the system's real priority, holding kids so adults can work. If school hours changed tomorrow, millions of jobs would have to change with them. That's not an education problem. That's an economic one. Now let's talk about the cafeteria. Public schools are also one of the largest food distribution systems in the country. Every single school day, millions of kids rely on school for breakfast and lunch. For many of them, it's the only reliable food they get. And often, it's the healthiest food they eat. This isn't a side benefit, it's a core function. More than half of public school students qualify for free or reduced price meals. In some places, it's almost everyone. School isn't just a place to learn. It's the front line against child hunger, and that's not a failure of schools. That's a failure being absorbed by them. When feeding kids becomes a core responsibility, everything changes. Budgets stretch thin, education funds get redirected just to keep meals going. Teachers, books, and classrooms quietly lose resources. Schools aren't just teaching anymore. They're stabilizing entire communities. And then we wonder why they're struggling. So why does any of this matter? Because we're trying to fix a system without admitting what it's actually doing. We judge schools almost entirely on academic results, but they're carrying 3 massive jobs at once: childcare, food security, education. That's why reform feels impossible. We argue about curriculum while ignoring the structure that locks everything in place. It's like arguing about upgrading software on a computer we refuse to turn off because it's holding the door shut. Any change that threatens its hidden role is off the table. This overload is pushing the system to the edge. Teachers are burned out. Staffing shortages are everywhere. Teachers are expected to educate, manage behavior, provide emotional support, and fill in for social services. Students feel it too. Absenteeism is rising. Disengagement is everywhere. We say we want curious, creative thinkers, but the system is built around compliance. It has to be. When you're supervising and feeding hundreds of kids all day, order comes first. Bells, rigid schedules, age-based grouping. None of this is optimized for learning. It's optimized for crowd control. We build a culture of compliance. Then we act surprised when students check out. The school system isn't broken. A broken system fails its job. This one is doing exactly what we asked it to do. It provides childcare. It provides food. And in whatever time and energy is left, it tries to educate. It succeeds at its hidden jobs, at the expense of its stated one. We can't fix education until we admit that. What if childcare were handled separately? What if food insecurity were addressed directly? What would school look like if its only job was learning? Maybe schedules would finally match how kids learn. Maybe teachers could focus on curiosity instead of control. Maybe school could become what we've always said it was. Fixing education doesn't start with new standards. It starts with honesty. The next time someone talks about fixing schools, ask one question. Which job are we trying to fix? Because until we can answer that, we're asking one system to do too many things at once.